But the trouble with Thetis Lake is that because it's basically a huge basin,
Yep.
you've got so many alternative routes,
Yes.
depending on where you want to go in and where you want to come out.
Yeah.
So you can get completely lost in there.
Oh yes. Having run there off and on over 20 years, I can totally understand how getting lost is very easy.
Yeah.
It wasn't until last year when I went, or last summer, I downloaded a GPS course or a GPX trail on my watch,
Yep.
which extended out towards, away from Thetis Lake.
Towards Stewart Mountain.
Yeah, I had never been back there. I didn't even know it existed.
That's where everybody gets lost. Around there.
The watch was leading me well
Yeah.
until it told me to go along the power line cut that's back there.
Yeah.
And there's a huge gate with a big sign, private property,
No trespass.
trespassers will be prosecuted. I'm like, well, what do I do now?
Well, I think you go through.
Well, I didn't.
That's it.
I turned back.
I think that trail gate might have been put in after the GPX map was mapped out in the
Yes.
in the 90s probably.
Well, I found, I got back into a neighborhood and I ran parallel to where I was supposed to be along the road, and then finally picked up the trail again.
Yeah,
the
it's a
other
bit
side.
like what I was trying to do at Mineral Creek.
Yes, although there were no
Go
creek
along.
crossings on mine.
There were no soggy bridges, log bridges.
And then on the other side, in another little park, I ran into another big gate, and I thought, this time I'm going to go over. I jumped over the gate, and I ended up in a big posh golf course. I thought, oh no, this is not
Hi there.
no. I thought, this is not right.
Zone 3.
That might have been near Mount Finlayson.
No, other direction.
The other direction?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you end up on a golf course there, but they've now made that out of bounds. The runners always used to go through that way.
Ah, okay.
So now you have to hold a permit. You see this?
Oh.
It's the last spike. Well, maybe not the last spike, but this spike was found right here. And if you hadn't noticed, there's a little bit of the original rail.
Interesting.
They had to drag it off the rail bed
Yeah.
and put it aside when they put the gravel in.
Workout resumed.
Because this used to be the rail line that went from Victoria to Sydney.
Oh, really?
Yep, before they put the highway in. So you had to take the train to get to the ferry.
Okay.
Well, that's the idea. And also any produce coming from the mainland would be shipped in, stuck on trains and dragged into town. It wouldn't be lumber, but it would be everything else.
Average
Because I
heart rate
assume lumber would be
129.
easier to float.
Workout average pace.
Well, no, they
7
would get it
24
from
seconds
up
per
island.
Yeah.
They had the E and N for that.
Yeah.
The Esquimalt and Nanaimo
Okay.
train used to bring in the logs from Cumberland and the coal before that. Here is the bit between Elk Lake and Beaver Lake. And just recently they discovered a tectonic fault,
My parents were telling me that.
and it's right here. It goes right through the middle of Elk Lake.
Okay.
And there used to be a drop-off, an escarpment here.
Okay. In the water.
No,
Oh.
below the water level.
Okay.
They had
Okay.
to flood the lake to make it into one big lake.
Ah.
Because originally it was two lakes,
Yes.
Elk Lake and Beaver Lake.
Zone 2.
So the locals will say, oh, I'm going to the lakes. And they mean here.
Yeah.
The new people, they say, I'm going to Elk Lake,
Yeah.
singular. But there used to be a mill here
Okay.
that used the drop-off from the water to power the saw
Got it.
of the mill.
Huh.
So there was a substantial drop-off. You'll see it a bit later on when the trail goes down.
Okay.
And that's the drop-off.
Interesting.
Yep. And if you go out of the bottom end of Beaver Lake,
Yep.
you end up on Pipeline Road. and it's called Pipeline Road. It used to be the source of the drinking water for Victoria was Beaver Lake.
Huh.
And they used to run the water through the pipeline all the way into town.
That's very cool.
Yep. So you're getting a
Zone
guided
3.
tour with history anecdotes. Hi there. Plus a little bit of rowing history.
I like learning and exercising.
Well, talk about exercising. I used to be race director here at the Elk Beaver Ultras,
Yes.
and they always run this direction.
Okay.
What is it now? Counterclockwise.
Yep.
Like they do at the track. You start off going counterclockwise. Well, anyway, I don't know if you noticed it, but we've been climbing steadily now since the woods, since we came out of the north end.
Okay.
And this used to always kill me as a competitor, running this long ramp
Zone 2.
right, around the 4.5K mark from the
Distance
start.
482 kilometers. Average heart rate 127.
So I thought,
Workout average pace 7 minutes.
I'm going to
28
take this
seconds per
race
kilometer.
over and be race director. And as the race director's privilege, I'm going to run the course in reverse.
Huh.
So I would stop here
Yeah.
and start running down, because I'd be going that way. And ostensibly it was so that I could see all my sheep. So I could see the whole flock. Instead of always being either behind somebody
Yep.
or dropped off the back,
Yep.
I was going to see every single person, every single lap. And I always used to run, every year I would run the 50K.
Okay.
And my theory was that at that time we used to start at Beaver Lake.
Yep.
Get this first little escarpment out of the way, and then downhill all the way to the north end of the lake, pretty much,
Okay.
to that wooded section after you go over that little bridgey thing. Anyway, so I would have the advantage of downhill, whereas all my competitors were slogging their way up here. And after 10 laps,
Zone
you
3.
can imagine this is more like Everest. And it's endless. It's these carborundum type hills.
Yeah.
They wear you out.
Yes.
Going down is fun. And making up the elevation is easy if it's
Just short.
short,
hills.
sharp.
Yeah.
Up you go, like a step ladder. You go up and then you come down.
Yeah, I find whenever I run out here, I'm always going counterclockwise. I'm not sure why that is.
Maybe it's your track background.
I never ran track.
Well, look here. This was that drop off.
Okay.
And it was major. It was more than this because they, as I say, they had to flood
Yeah.
the lakes to make it two,
Huh.
to make it one lake.
Zone 3.
So this is a considerable climb here.
Yeah.
It's about maybe 15 meters, 45 feet.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not quite that much. This guy, I'm pretty sure I know. I should do by rights. He looks about the right generation.
Zone 2.
Hi, Bill.
Hi.
Isn't it Bill?
Yes, Bill.
Mr. Scriven.
This is new, so
Oh, I see.
Incognito
Stop your
mode.
watch. Stop your watch.
I don't wear a watch.
Auto pause.
You don't wear a watch?
No,
I have my auto pause activated. So every time I want to
Someone.
stop to talk to a friend, my stats don't go down the tube.
you're
Anyway.
still keeping track of your stats, are you?
Well, I like running every day, you see. So I just do 10K as my limit now.
Yeah.
No more ultras.
No, no.
I did that, been there, done that. Fallen in the creek, you know. Anyway, did you do a Stewart
0.
Mountain or
No,
Gunner
no,
Shore?
I'm not racing anymore. I got a
No, I don't
pacemaker
race.
3 years ago.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I run with a heart rate monitor, so I'm trying to stay in zone 2, which is like a conversational run for me. Patrick's as you can see, younger and fitter than I am. But I'm lighter than him. Like you. I'm
Makes a difference.
lightweight.
We float over the
That's it.
terrain, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
when
You're
you're
not
running
struggling
next to a
uphill.
big guy, you look at them and you think, he's working much harder than I am because he's carrying 100 pounds more than I am. Which is true.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way, I'm afraid.
Well, they've got bigger muscles and a bigger heart,
Yeah.
which tends to help. Anyway, back at it. Let's
Okay,
go.
nice to see you guys.
See ya.
Workout resumed.
Workout resumed. You see what the beauty of the auto pause.
Well, the Garmin watch will tell me
Moving
how often
time.
I'm running, how often I'm walking,
Yeah.
and how long I'm standing still. So
Yep. Well, I have moving time on Strava,
yeah,
and they extrapolate that from the app that sends them the data.
Yes.
So they come up with a different distance, a different speed.
oh,
Yeah.
that's weird.
Well, they tend to,
Zone 2.
if you're not running, they say, well, he's not moving.
Yes.
So they stop the clock. But then when you start running again, it takes maybe 1.5, 2 seconds for them to notice that you're running.
Yep.
So suddenly the stats pick up again and the clock starts moving again,
Okay.
but you've covered about 3 meters.
Zone 3.
Yes.
So it's shortening the course and improving your stats. So it's like the Rosie effect. It makes your stats seem better.
Yeah.
And that's why Strava is so popular. Because you see, if you run two apps, hi, if you run 2 apps simultaneously,
Yep.
you'll come up with different data,
Huh.
even if they're getting it from the same source.
Huh.
I mean, I've got iSmooth Run
Zone 4.
because I like the audio
Yes.
stats. Because because of my eyesight not being that good, I couldn't keep looking at my watch
Yeah.
to
Zone 3.
see what my heart rate is.
Well, I've got a haptic buzzer.
Yeah.
When it goes over my limit.
You get a little
Yeah. So I know when I should slow down, and then I got another different type of buzz.
when you're going too slow.
No, well, yeah, when it drops below my target.
Well, that's pretty good. And that's all from Garmin.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, they make good products. Their website is a little annoying, but
But you constantly have to either upgrade because the battery life tends to fade somewhat.
yeah. I mean, this watch is probably 2 or 3 years old. When I ran MMT, my time was 34 hours, 34, 40, something like
And
that.
it stayed charged the whole time?
No.
Hi. You had to switch out
I-
watches?
Yeah, at one of the aid stations, I think the 50-mile aid station, in my gear bag, I had a portable battery, and I plugged it in for probably 15 minutes while I changed clothes, cleaned off all the salt, that sort of thing.
Yep.
And it was back to 85%,
So that would
and
get
that
you
lasted
through.
the rest of the run.
Zone 4.
Okay, hang on. Zone 4.
Distance 5.62 kilometers. Average heart rate 131.
But
Workout average pace 7 minutes 27 seconds per kilometer.
with the technology now, it's hard to imagine running without a GPS of some sort.
Yeah. But I was in the race director's capacity when, at that time, about a third of the people had GPS watches.
Okay.
The rest of them just took your word for it. Nowadays, the number of problems have arisen because people would say,
Oh,
this isn't 50k.
the race is short.
My
The
watch
race
says 48.60. And they go and do an extra 140. Hi there. Hi, big dog. That dog's bigger than me. Anyway, they say that they go out and do the extra 1,600 meters
Yeah.
so that their watch says 50k. So you get this situation where you claim it was a 50k, because back in '87, when they measured it with a wheel,
Yeah.
it came out at close enough to 50k or 10k per lap
Yep.
to get accreditation. So you call it a 50k
Yes.
and just go by your '87 accreditation.
Yep.
Since then, all these people with GPS watches have been arguing. Enough for a lot of the race directors to say, fuck it, no more. I'm tired of arguing with these ladies.
Zone 4.
Well,
But what those ladies and what a lot of people don't realize, that in forested areas and mountainous areas, you do
Zone 3.
occasionally lose
yes.
the signal.
Yeah.
So you get one checkpoint, and then there should have been another one 20 seconds later. But if it doesn't get that message,
Yep.
it waits for the next one,
Yep.
which might have been 40 seconds later, by which you've done 2 switchbacks, and it just draws a straight line. So that's how come a lot of mountain trails don't work too well for GPS.
Yeah. Well, I find in the early days of those GPS watches, that was definitely the case.
Yeah.
Even with the higher end models.
But now if you look at the trace, you can see
Oh yes.
that it follows the recognized route.
Well, the Massanutten Trail was advertised as 101 miles. And when I finished that
Average
race,
heart rate 134.
my watch said 101 miles.
Workout average pace 7
That's
minutes
excellent.
28 seconds per kilometer.
They probably used the Garmin to measure it.
Well, I mean, this race has been around for 20 years,
Okay.
and I think the club, the Virginia Happy Trails Running Club, the VHTRC, really did their due diligence on the measurements.
Well, that's good.
Because the guy that designed the course was very a stickler for that sort of
Zone
thing.
4.
Yeah. A bit like Bob Reed. Bob Reed is the king of trail running. Not so much running anymore, but
Okay.
he organizes 90% of all the races
Oh,
in Victoria.
okay.
And he's sort of on the board of
Zone
directors for the marathon and
Oh, okay.
the 10K and all that business. But if you hadn't been a harrier, you wouldn't have known Bob Reed. But he had hip replacement surgery, which meant that he couldn't run for a while.
Okay.
But he was a stickler for stats. And when he wasn't running trails with his dog,
Yeah.
he was a baseball coach, not coach, umpire.
Okay.
He would either be on first base
Zone
or on home plate.
Huh.
And he always had the stats. You know how baseball people can be about
yes, they are
stats.
Number nerds.
Yep, well, he was that. Not only that, but when he worked for the CRD, he was a cartographer.
Okay. Oh, that's cool.
So he learned the trails
Zone 3.
by having mapped them out.
Nice.
So a lot of the data that's still being used was data that he provided. This is all new. This is where, and historically, the race always started here
Okay.
at the Beaver Lake trailhead. And this is where I met Lucinda and Gilles and John Mackay and Mackay.
Yeah.
And John and Gilles were doing the 100K that year. And I was race director, and I fell out with them because I was going to say, you know, they're not going to make the cut. And Lucinda was saying, but they're still out there. They're on the last lap. I said, well, you know, we have rules. You know, a stickler for rules. And after that I thought,
Distance
Am I really enjoying being a race director?
Average heart rate
I'd
130.
much sooner be a competitor.
Workout average pace 7 minutes 27 seconds per kilometer.
Anyway, so sure enough, they did finish.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it was all good.
They are tough competitors.
Well, they teamed up from the early days,
Yeah.
and they always ran together, so they always had somebody to talk to. You know, if you're feeling shitty, the chances that John's feeling shitty at exactly the same moment
Yeah.
is slim.
Yes.
So one person buoys up the other person where they're feeling a little down. Well, the year I did, not Cascade, Stormy, that's
Okay.
what it was. The Stormy 100.
Sure.
That's when I met Lucinda
Okay.
at the aid station. And Gilles and John were running ahead of me. My friend Brad had dropped off the pace,
Zone 4.
and he got bailed out on the Quest Hill
Okay.
climb by a girl. I think it was Lucy Ryan. Gave him a chocolate bar.
Oh,
He
that's
was
helpful.
well, you know, he was thinking of quitting,
Yeah.
and I think there wasn't enough sugar in his brain. He was getting a little punchy by then.
Okay.
And she gave him a chocolate bar. He ate it, and sure enough, he was back in the game. But he'd already dropped back. He dropped back about 1.5 miles, 2 miles
Okay.
from me. I was still steaming along there. So when I got to the finish, because it was 250 mile loops,
Sure.
and when I got to the finish, I remember either phoning his wife or his wife contacting somebody saying, "Where's Brad? Has he finished yet?" And I said, "Well, I don't think he's finished. I left him at around the 30-mile mark, and I think he dropped." Anyway, never ever say that
Zone 2.
to a loved one, because she was phoning the hospitals,
Oh no.
the emergency wards. He just, after the chocolate bar, he picked right up again.
Okay.
He finished about maybe 40 minutes behind me, but you know, nowhere in sight for me, because I was going through the aid stations before him.
Sure. Sure.
I couldn't look at the list and say, "Has Brad been through?"
Yeah.
Distance 6.82 kilometers. Average
Anyway.
heart rate 131. Workout average pace
Never
7 minutes
ever
28 seconds
say-
per kilometer.
To somebody,
Zone 3.
"Oh, I think he dropped out."
No, it's
It's scary.
you never know with ultras. I mean, you're just those
He
second
could have
winds,
broken his leg.
third or fourth winds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he could have got nauseous.
Could have got nauseous.
Could have had the shits.
Yes.
Anyway,
Ultras.
love him or hate him.
Always an adventure.
The other thing you should never say as a race director when people are doing multiple loops of this lake
Yeah.
is that you're on your last lap. Because you didn't check the stats. You were hoping he was on his last lap because you wanted to pack up and go home. And then you realize he's got 2 laps to go. And by the time he comes in the next time, he's going to think he's finished.
Yes.
When he hasn't, he's going to think that he's done, oh, not too badly. I was thinking of 10 hours. This is 9:20. No,
Zone 2.
it'll be 11:50 by the time you're done the last lap. You know,
Yeah.
that's the problem. But I did have a solution. Before I packed in the race directorship altogether, I suggested to the guy who was taking over from me that he does a 10-hour challenge.
Okay.
Do as many laps as you can in 10 hours.
Oh.
And when you get to around 9 hours, you decide, can I do one more? Or shall I pull out here? Or what?
Yeah.
Hi there.
Hey, guys.
Good, good. What do you say?
I'm hard of hearing.
Yeah, that's right. I think he might have said,
Something about a climb.
yeah. So going this way, you get this climb.
Yes.
But once again, it's the short, sharp side of the climb, and then the other side is nice and down.
Well, around where I live in Sutton, it's all hills.
Yep.
You're going up or you're going down. There's not a lot of flat.
Zone 2.
Yep. So this is the direction. Let me think now. Yeah, this is the direction of the race,
Okay.
and the way I was coming would have been no. Anyway,
Distance 7.2
I always used to run that
Average
side
129.
that way,
Yeah.
so I would get that long downhill.
Seconds per kilometer. Zone
That's
3.
right. This is an alternate route. Look at all this blowdown.
Yeah. Wow.
This is an alternate route. There is a route that goes down at the bottom there.
Okay.
Smile. There you go, pointing. The
Auto
blowdown.
pause.
Better with pointing.
Yeah. The blowdown. And there we are. Hang on, get the microphone out of the way. I'm gonna say
Zone 2.
I'm gonna say goodbye pretty soon, because I don't really want to have 2 hours of material to deal with.
It's a lot of editing.
Well, I might put it out as part 1, part 2. Or I might just say, sod it, I'll put it out as one episode. Because we have pretty much yacked the whole way.
We have.
So, at this juncture, around the 56, 57 minute mark, we got about 3k to go. I will say goodbye to you from
3.
Elk and Beaver Lakes. Bye-bye.
Until we see you again.
Until we meet again. This side of the Rockies. Bye-bye.